Come on. Ah,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine podcast. We're hosted on Anchor.fm, and we're streamed worldwide on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Your three usual suspects are back here. My name is Nick, and on the other ends of the line, we have Tristan and Andrew. What's going on, fellas?
Oh, God. I just keep expecting that one day I'll be less busy than I have been the previous day, and that has not yet happened since March 13th.
Today is not that day.
No, it's really not.
Yeah, it's crazy. I am exhausted. Normally, I would go into a Monday morning like refreshed after a great weekend, and I mean, this was a great weekend. But it's just there's so much happening all the time now.
Yeah.
You wake up on Monday morning and it's just like, oh, no.
Well, that said, finally taking just a week and not doing anything other than whatever it is that we wanted to do in that particular moment has left me with a general feeling of refreshment. So I still feel pretty good, like better than I did, but still, it's just unrelenting.
Which is good, because sometimes it can leave you with, in fact, just a remembrance of the fact that this is what it felt like to not do anything, and this is what you're feeling now.
Yes,
and
yes.
It can be crushing. So I'm glad you're not being crushed.
No,
basically,
no.
So in the midst of our incredibly busy schedules, we are taking time to record yet another episode for y'all. Andrew, what exactly are we going to be talking about today?
We're not talking about anything. We're not talking about a single thing, actually.
Everything and nothing, my dear Nicholas.
Well, see, now this is something that I've wanted to do on the podcast for a while, and we just kind of do it naturally. But I am interested in the concept of this car podcast as a podcast that also talks about cars. Simply because we have real lives, we have other things going on, and while we are of course, truthful to our opinions on this podcast, our opinions on this podcast fall somewhat short of the whole representative of our opinions and our lives. So sometimes it just gets hard for me, especially to talk about the nitty gritty car stuff when I don't particularly care about it. Right now, we're in a season of racing, yes, but I don't know. We're kind of at the point where we were kind of right before like physical racing came back with iRacing.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is there's not all that much to say unless you are to some degree an insider. Because no one's going to see races. No one has track access. And so very little is happening that everyone doesn't already know.
That's true. That's true. Everyone gets the same bits of information now through the screen.
Mm-hmm. So
official outlets.
Yeah. So now we're just going to talk some shit.
We're going to talk shit about nothing. So there's going to be car talk included in this episode, but it's not going to be all we talk about.
Right. Because there's just other stuff going on. And actually, I will start with this. Something that came up on another podcast that I listened to maybe a month or two ago now, and I've just been thinking about it since. So I'm going to ask you guys on your rap verse, how are you starting it? What's the first thing you're going to say? You're going to give it like a yo. You're just going to be like, are you going to silent? You're going to let the beat ride? Are you going to maybe something like that? What are you going to do?
How do you lead into the verse?
Yeah. What's your ad lib before the verse starts?
So
maybe
do you say so?
Okay, so that fair. I often open my actual speaking with so. However, I had an answer for that right away because really, despite it's not my favorite genre, but despite what the haters will say, it's music,
Mhm.
and that I have experience with. And obviously it's a different thing, but I've always felt the most comfortable like before the music starts, just being a visual presence. So when you said like
stare awkwardly into a camera.
well, like when Andrew said like, do you let the beat ride or whatever? Like, I think that that would be my thing. I would play best in music videos.
Fair enough. Okay. I was gonna say but Nick mentioned and that might be kind of tight. That might be kind of cool.
Because no one does that. What if you go all British? What if you go all British and say right?
Right. So you got the beat going, then some. So that might be kind of cool.
And then right into like an amazing flow.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You have to really have bars to back that one up. That one's
like
tough.
with
Yeah, you start with something really awkward like that. So, and then it's an Eminem verse.
There's a famous freestyle that Big L did with Jay-Z on New York radio back in I want to say late 90s, and he starts it with a I haven't done this in a while, and then it's like a 4-minute freestyle. It's so impressive.
That's crazy.
He was lying. He had done that lately.
Yeah.
But
I suspect that might not be true, sir.
But it was still really cool.
I haven't done this in a while. I mean, I immediately went into weird, awkward, jokey type things, but on a serious note, I guess just because you hear it so often, your mind just always goes to yo, but like...
Yeah. Yo's a classic.
What about now? Like you're really going to make a point here. So like now, and then you get into your verse.
I think you might have to have some socially conscious raps for that.
Like Will Smith.
Yeah.
That's how the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air one opens.
Yes, Tristan. Like, oh my God.
Oh, wow. That's right.
Wow. See, or a story. A story.
Yeah. Yeah. Recounting a tale. Oh, starts with now.
Mm-hmm.
What about listen?
Ooh.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
I feel like that's not as common as it should be.
You would think. I feel like DJ Khaled might have killed that because he had that as a tag in his songs for a while. Listen.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'd have to say probably on a serious note, yo or now.
Yeah, it was good. Well, actually, here's what I actually wanted to start off with. This is a deep thought. How quickly we forget the way things used to be. So on our little vacation, my wife and I watched DVDs, if you can imagine such a thing. They're
what are those?
It's like streaming, but on a disc in little bits.
In all technicality, it actually is streaming from a disc.
I know. But and it was just I had a moment after we completed. So we're watching The Office, right? And we finished the first disc or whatever. She had been watching it, and we're in like the middle of season 2, whatever. Mm-hmm. So the play all, I think it's like 4 or 5 episodes. And after that episode, it goes to a black screen, and then this white screen immediately pops up with this tone, like these piano tones that immediately gave me unbelievable anxiety. And the Digital Deluxe Studios logo appears on the screen. And I was like, oh my God. Do you remember changing a disc? Do you remember this? When you had to, you would watch so many episodes of a show, then the disc would be over. And if you didn't do anything right when you saw that logo appear, you would go back to the menu where DVD menus would only loop for like 4 seconds. Yep. So annoying. And I totally forgot about that.
I'm actually very, very familiar with it because since quarantine or COVID started, Claire has been going through. I have the full series of Lost on DVD, and Claire has been going through it. She actually just passed the halfway point this evening before we started recording here. So I'm very familiar with this. It is absolutely fresh in my mind. And I actually did, to your point with the menu loop. She had gotten up, we were doing something in the kitchen, getting dinner ready, and it was on the menu loop, and I actually had to go back and mute the TV until
it's so annoying
because I got so annoyed with the same, and especially with Lost, because it wasn't like their menu isn't like piano key or like anything musical. It's like all these very eerie, like ghostly kind of creepy sounds.
Yeah,
you have. And like each menu or each disc has a different one. Like it might be a knocking, or it might be like a creepy wind chimey sound, or whatever it is. But when you just hear that same weird wind chime every 4 seconds, it really grates on you.
Do you guys remember falling asleep watching a DVD and then waking up at the menu? And you like usually the menu would be like several clicks louder than the episodes as well. It'd be mixed way louder.
Yeah. The other thing, you're falling asleep and using the sleep timer on your TV.
I never did that because I was stupid.
I started doing that very recently.
Because I was stupid.
That's another thing that's very fresh in my mind, because I normally have control of the remotes when we go to sleep, because Claire falls asleep in about, on average, 13.8 seconds until she's like snoring.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Tristan, you can relate. But I am not one of those people.
Dropping phones on my face.
But
I didn't do that. You dumbass.
No, I did. No, I did. I do that, but I don't fall all the way asleep. I get to the point where like the body starts to.
No, we've heard this excuse. We know.
I've proven it to you. I've told you the last
phone on
thing
your
you
head.
said.
Get over it. You dropped the phone on your head.
Go. What were you saying?
Anyway, no, so it got to the point where like, okay, I'll just kind of lay the remotes next to me and do this. And then inevitably I'd get a nudge at like 4 a.m, and it was some infomercial, and I'd hear, could you please turn that off now? So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll use the sleep timer.
That it is a very logical. It's a logical feature that I don't think
it's
gets
underrated.
The respect it deserves. Yeah,
it's an underappreciated feature on a TV remote.
Definitely. I guess I never really knew what it was for until, probably 7 or 8 years ago at this point. But it was a long time until I actually knew what that did.
Yep. Again, another recently discovered thing. You're hitting on things that are very fresh in my head right now, Andrew.
Good. Well, good. Okay. This is something Tristan and I were talking about that I thought was interesting.
Yes.
Multiple topic issues here. I found a very interesting YouTube true crime channel. And it's called something weird. It's called Jim Can't Swim. And I don't know who runs it necessarily, but it's
some guy named Jim.
I don't know if it's some guy named Jim. He's, I would assume he may be perhaps a criminal psychologist or something like that. But it's review of police interrogation tape of famous cases with the criminal psychology aspect added in. They're actually pretty damn interesting.
Oh, wow.
And kind of like a good way to look at cases that were somewhat famous. Worth a look. If you haven't heard of the channel, definitely worth a look. So I guess the first thing is that I was kind of over true crime media until, I need a fresh take now. But this one episode, he talks about, do you guys remember the UFC fighter War Machine who, beat the hell out of an ex-girlfriend?
Yes.
I don't remember. She was a porn star. I don't remember her name.
Oh,
And
man.
he used to be, too.
He was a porn star?
I believe so.
Oh, I didn't know that. They didn't cover that in the show.
I just knew him from MMA.
He was a reality star. I guess I assumed that you just did that if you dated a porn star for an extended period of time. Anyways, my question for Tristan, because at the beginning of the episode, they're setting it up and they're explaining what these people do, who they are. And so I was asking Tristan, like, okay, would you date one, a professional fighter, and or two, a porn star? It's not an either or necessarily. It's just, would you date either one? And my answer is no to the fighter, yes to the porn star.
I would agree.
See, and I kind of went the other way, but I also viewed it as like an either or. It was like you have to pick one.
Yeah.
And because I had some questions, and it was like, obviously, yes. I think the one that everybody thinks of is like, would I be okay with having my significant other banged by other people all day long? I don't think so. However, maybe you get over it and you're like, oh yeah, it's just work. However, in the more...
And I'd hate to cut you off, but Andrew, is this, if you're dating a porn star, is it a current porn star or can it be ex porn star?
I guess, appropriate to the situation, she was a current active porn star. So I guess...
Right.
Right, that was the assumption that I made based on the story. So
yeah,
got it.
So that's my former. I don't have a problem with that at all. There's not even any consideration at all.
Yeah, who could care?
But current, it's like, okay, maybe then you make the step, like, okay, it's just work, whatever, you get over it. This is when Tristan's deep thoughts TM kick in. Like, I don't really enjoy coming home or clocking out because I'm working from home and then going to fix more computer stuff.
It is the worst.
Like, I want to be done for the day and have all my stuff work. When my stuff doesn't work, it's like, why I'm still at work, Like,
that's why my computer's been sitting here not working for a year, a year plus.
Yeah, exactly. So my worry then would be, would adult film stars be the same? Or it's like, they've been working all day long and they don't want to come home and have sex with anybody because that's work and they've been doing it all day long, because that would be a bummer.
That is really valid.
That's yeah.
So that was my biggest concern. So I was like, probably not to a current one for a few concerns. And I said, maybe to the fighter. I actually almost half considered it for a while. Found out there were some, other issues not directly related to that person being a fighter, just kind of all overall being weird. And maybe that's why they're a fighter. I don't know, but I know a lot of perfectly, but I know a lot of perfectly normal fighters that are not that way. So, but like I said, I considered it for a while. So I immediately said yes, and then Andrew brought up the question of, like, which one's safer? I was like,
I did not. Yes, I did. Well, because in my mind, it's always going to be no to a fighter, because I feel that. Well, Tristan said you're probably not in any danger, and I think that's probably right, with the exception that you became a fighter because you're in the top 1% in all of humanity of violent reflexes, right? Because most of the time, anyone who gets punched in the face doesn't then run towards that person. It's kind of like the universal deterrent. But these people then take that impulse that they have and train it and bring it to the forefront and make it an actionable, like a daily actionable thing. It becomes like a reflex, a routine. And I don't know. I don't know that I want that to be the reaction.
Yeah, and I guess there's, like, much like one of the slowest drivers I've ever known was a race car driver. Just like there's a time and a place for that. Like, I think that some people, because they have that urge, find a place for it so that they're not like a safety valve or a vent. Like people talk about, like, oh, I gotta let this out. But then in that case, you're already in trouble. But like,
yeah,
because they're interested in it, they find a time and place to like put themselves in that mindset where they are cultivating that. And then it basically just, when they're not dressed appropriately, when they're not in the right place, it, kind of sublimates a little bit, and it's not it's not, a direct instinct unless they're threatened. Like,
Right.
where it's like, and so again, if you're not going to be, it's like, would I date a fighter if I was a violent person? Probably not, because I'd probably get my ass kicked. Because you go to smack them around and they'll kill you. Like,
Go to smack them around. Oh,
Why would
God.
you go smack the person around?
But that's what I'm saying. If you're a violent person, that's the way you think.
It's so casual.
If you're a violent person, it is that casual. That's all I'm saying.
You're probably right. God, that's completely horrifying.
But no more grim reality checks, right, Andrew?
I don't even remember why I said that to you, but
but yeah, so it's like, so I didn't feel all that physically threatened, but then I did ask him the question, emotional safety or physical safety.
How many times would you be in, like, say you're out somewhere with your professional fighter date, like, and something like, somebody has one too many, gets up in somebody's face. Like, you hear that happen at bars and stuff all the time. How many times do you think you'd be like breaking up like fights and apologizing for your significant other if that person's first reaction in those situations is to go at somebody?
Well, I don't know.
I actually know a couple like this, and they specifically don't do that. So like, she's actually the fighter. She's a jiu-jitsu person. And like, I don't know what you call it, practitioner. I don't know.
Go with practitioner.
Yeah. And so
she has a doctorate in jiu-jitsu.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. And we would go out, after work or whatever, and like somebody started shit one time, and it was like, she just stepped away and like let her boyfriend like break up the fight because she didn't want to use those skills, because it's like, you get in so much more trouble. Like if you get in a bar fight and the cops or the jury or whatever find out that you're a fighter, it's like, oh yeah, like everybody goes with Andrew's assumption, like you must have started it because you're the aggressive one. So they do often take themselves out of that situation if they're smart. I mean, there are some people who go into fighting because they were already in fighting before, and they just want to make it official. There are those people. I think you got to judge. Which
See, I have a contract now.
Yeah, exactly. Look, that's how I envision Conor McGregor, for example. Like, he was just an asshole and beat people for a living, and then got paid for it later.
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. So I think you just got to judge your fighter, and that'll tell you whether you're safe or not. But
judge your porn star as well, I imagine.
Probably true. Be a good judge of character, and it'll all turn out okay no matter what you do.
That's right. Let's talk some F1. Let's talk some F1 nonsense. I am uncomfortable and I don't enjoy the "is Sebastian Vettel garbage" storyline.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
I think the car is garbage.
I do too.
Like, I think Ferrari just gave him and his teammate an absolute boat anchor this year. It was actually a really funny. So, like, a lot of the younger guys in the sport now. Sorry, this just reminded me, Andrew. Sorry, I'm going off on kind of a side note.
No, that's cool.
So, like, the young, like, Lando Norris is 21. George Russell's right in there. Albon, Leclerc, like all these guys, they have their Twitch channels and they'll go on and they'll do like online racing and stream and go live and all that stuff. And there was a conversation that was happening with Lando Norris. He actually said, if we're at Spa and we go up Eau Rouge and Leclerc is in first, he'll be last by the end of the straightaway. and everyone started laughing. He goes, "There's nothing against Charles. We're going straight. He just has a slow car."
I swear, I'm not mad at him.
It's not his fault. It's just like so I think what happens is, for someone like Vettel, I honestly think like it gets to a point where he's pressing because he knows he's better than what the car is giving him, and he knows he can do better. and like he belongs further up the grid.
Yeah.
So he presses, and then he's made some pretty rookie type mistakes over the past couple of years, but I think it's just because he is overdoing it, trying to carry the car, basically. I don't think by any stretch he is garbage. He's just signed for next year with the 2B Aston Martin team, which is currently Racing Point, the pink cars.
Yeah.
And they're a pretty good car right now. They're up in the top 5, 6, 7, 8. They're basically right there with the Red Bulls.
Well, I mean, if you driving last year's championship winner,
yeah, basically. And next year is when that quote unquote cost cap thing starts. So everyone's going to be on a supposedly more level playing field.
Yeah.
So you put him in one of those cars, we'll see. Like, I just think Ferrari is giving him jack shit to work with. I don't think he's a garbage driver by any means.
I don't think so either. And that's why I don't want him to be a garbage driver, just because he is a personality, but there's just such a limit on what that gets you in F1 that no one's really a personality. But he seems interesting enough when way back in the day when you saw him on Top Gear, where, by the way, he was the fastest F1 driver in the same car.
Yeah.
He just seems like a decent dude. And
he's got some pretty funny moments, some pretty funny radio clips.
That's true. He is funny as well.
I think my favorite was he comes on the radio, heat of battle, and goes, "There's something loose between my legs besides the obvious."
I like that. I hadn't heard that one before. Oh man.
He's good.
So he's going to Racing Point. There's gonna be a lot of driver shuffling, and also, I guess, team shuffling, as Williams has been sold or bought. What happened there?
Yeah, I put this in late, guys, and I just really wanted to bring it up because it kind of makes me sad. So, like, here's what happened. Williams F1 was sold to Doralton Capital, which is an American investment firm. So now technically, there's two American-owned Formula One teams, Williams and Haas. So they're still going to race under the Williams name. They're not changing the branding at all. It's still going to be Williams F1. But then they made the announcement that, this was now a week ago, that Claire Williams, who is the daughter of Sir Frank, who founded the team, would be stepping down as team principal after the Italian Grand Prix. So as of 7 days ago, there is no longer going to be a member of the Williams family on the Formula One grid or in the Formula One paddock, which I just feel like, and it just makes me sad because they've been basically F1's version of the royal family. Like, Frank Williams was, I guess you could call him like a secondhand parts dealer in England who wanted to go racing, and he started this little race team and built them up to how many wins and drivers championships, like all the drivers that have gone through and sat in his seats, from Nigel Mansell, Ayrton Senna at the end of his career was obviously cut too short, but
that's the thing. They were kind of like they had an era. There's a Williams era.
Damon Hill. They launched the career even more recently. They launched the careers of both Nico Rosberg and Valtteri Bottas, who both went on to bigger and better things with the Mercedes factory team, but they started at Williams. And like the fact that they're just in such they're kind of wallowing around the back of the grid because the big manufacturer budgets and everything has kind of passed them by, and eventually having to sell. And now, after I think it's 43 years, none of the Williams family is going to be in the garage. They just kind of walked away with their tail between their legs. I just feel like they deserve better. And I know racing is a very volatile and cruel mistress of a sport, but it's just sad. Like they just deserve better. They deserve to go out better than they did, the Williams family as a whole. So that just makes me sad. I'm happy that, at least for now, this Doralton Capital is going to keep the Williams name, but I just think the family deserve better. And that's all I really wanted to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to feel any particular way about it because of my general apathy towards F1. But what I do understand is that that Williams is too big. It's so hard to find a comp, right? But Williams is essentially too big to completely disappear. It's like I'm trying to think of a comp with American football. It would be like the Cardinals, the name Cardinals disappearing from the NFL. It's been there.
They might move. They
Yeah.
might get change owners, whatever. But
brands, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, because they were the Chicago Cardinals originally?
something like that. Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
No, not St. Louis. The Chicago and Arizona.
Then they went to Arizona. Well, they were Phoenix for a while. Then they were Arizona. But yeah, it's like that name disappearing. So there's no more Cardinals. They become, I don't know, the Bitcoins or some dumb thing like that. And that would be weird. Definitely weird. Maybe even that's not right, though, because the Cardinals have never had like a run of dominance. No. It's really hard. This is a hard one.
Yeah, it's just, again, my only thing is that the family deserved better. So, like, maybe it was their decision. Like, you know what? If we're not running the show anymore, it's just time to, like, retire, hang it up, and just move on from it. But, like, maybe announce that after this year, at the end of this season, they'll be stepping away so that they can, at least for these last 5-6 races, whatever's on the schedule, get some sort of, pardon the pun here, like a victory lap, right? Where like, F1 can do something for them and, you'll see it on TV. They can make, just something to kind of send them off better than just, hey, after next week, we're not going to be here anymore. Like.
Do you think that was the plan?
I don't know what the plan was. It seemed kind of sudden because I thought they would have announced it all at once, because they announced the purchase, and then like 2 weeks later, they're like, "Yep, okay, the actual family is stepping down now." So like, I don't know if it had to go through like meetings with the board of this new investment firm or what the deal was, but like it just seemed odd the way it all went out. So
that's kind of what I was wondering. If initially it was supposed to be like a ride it out type thing, and then something changed, whether it was with the firm or whether it was with
maybe,
because essentially I would imagine that this team is going to go to a rule by committee, for lack of a better term, and that's always just completely disastrous and leads to the most absurd decisions. This could easily have been that. I have absolutely no reason to think that, other than, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Again, just sad. Like, I don't really have any other opinion. I mean, I hope at least with the injection of a little more capital that this investment firm will give, that they can be a little bit more competitive. But,
yeah,
that's all I had, was just, it's sad for the family.
I think it's going to take 3 years for this cap to show itself in any way in F1. I mean, it's been too long, essentially. I feel that it's been always a dominant team or two, like, one big dominator, one challenger, and the field. And I don't think that year one you're going to see any changes. It almost feels like something that's going to take several years to get to a difference.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that difference
because people don't have to, unless there's also a lot of dramatic rule changing and stuff where, you have to re-engineer everything and re-engineer it under this certain cap. Like, people are going to be able to coast on their better engineering for a year or two, and you take their advantage and keep it for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
No, I agree completely. I don't think we're going to see anything that has to do with that next year.
That's kind of a bummer. And for me, it always goes back to, all right, what would it take for me to start watching F1? And I just don't know. I don't know that I ever would.
I mean, the Italian Grand Prix was about as backwards as it could have got. So,
I pay attention to it because I feel like I should, but meh.
I mean, Pierre Gasly. I think what was the podium in Italy last weekend? It was Gasly, Carlos Sainz, and Lance Stroll.
Hooray!
It was AlphaTauri, McLaren, and Racing Point. No Mercedes, no Ferraris, no Red Bulls to be found.
That is bizarre.
Yeah,
actually, I don't know how I feel about that particularly. That's it.
Anywho,
yeah.
Can I do one?
Please, I wish you would.
It's actually not on the list because I wasn't sure what our format was going to be as far as like, even though we're doing this, are we going to do pace laps, whatever? I just had a really good day of stuff I found while I was driving around. And sadly was not able to get pictures of it to post it to Instagram. So I got to put it somewhere because I was in the act of actual driving. We were getting on the freeway and my keys fell out of the little door pocket I keep them in, and they rattled who knows where. And I'm kind of frustrated, and then I hear Jessica chuckle, and I'm like, "What are you laughing at?" Thinking she's laughing at me, and she just like stifles another laugh, points in front of me, and goes, "Quack." And I'm like, "Uh-oh, what?" And so I'm looking around, and she goes, "Right there, Quack." And it's a bright yellow Honda Fit with the license plate QUAQ.
Quack.
Quack. I was unreasonably tickled by that.
So, do you think they just really like ducks?
Or took the opportunity? They bought their yellow Fit and were like, "Oh man, that actually looks like a little rubber ducky." I don't know.
I feel like that's not a factory color.
I don't know enough about the Honda Fit to comment.
Fine, I'll look it up.
So that was number one, and there was another situation where we had stopped to get gas, and
it is a factory color.
There you go. See, I stopped to get gas, and we're getting back in the car. Putting the mask away, hand sanitizing, getting ready to go, and she just goes, "Oh my God, Pope!" I'm like, "You gotta stop it! What are we talking about here?" And she goes, "No, look," and points and goes, "Pope." Sure enough, there was a minivan with a cutout of the top third of the Pope, adhered to the rear window, the rear passenger seat window.
Oh wow!
I was just like, man, the stuff I'm seeing today. Has the world gone mad since I've done any significant driving?
Yes.
So, yeah. So the first time I venture, more than 45 minutes from home and everything's upside down. So anyway, that was my day. Thought you guys might appreciate it. At least the Quack one.
Quack.
I saw the story Prowler today. That just reminded me.
Oh, nice. And the story of Pope. So
you guys have a weird way of communicating.
It's a lot of one word and then pointing, or just noises. Oh, and then point.
Well, as long as it works.
It does work. It works eventually. At first, it results in a lot of confusion, possibly misapprehension. But it works eventually.
Oh,
Hey, before we get into the next one, we want to get our break in.
Yeah, let's do
that.
Let's do that.
All right, we're gonna talk about more random shit right after this. All right, we're back, folks, and we're about to get into more of these random discussion points. But before we do, we'd like to remind you how to get a hold of us should you feel so inclined. We do have a very own website. It is checkenginepodcast.com, and there you can find an email address, inbox@checkenginepodcast.com. We're also all over social media. You can look us up on Facebook by searching Check Engine Podcast. Andrew where can they find us on Twitter?
They can find us at Check Engine Pod, and there you will see Tristan and I forwarding the idea that runs counter to the current Reddit and Twitter conspiracy that Bazi Todorevich is in fact an android or a robot. He is not. He is a synthetic life form. Stop being so technophobic.
Yes, I prefer the term artificial person myself.
Indeed. Open your minds.
Open your minds on Twitter. And then you can also head over to Instagram, Tristan, where they can find us where?
Also at Check Engine Pod.
So
and there you'll find mostly pictures of my own stuff, because that's what I have access to. So and enjoy.
One day, you guys. One day.
Eventually we'll get some more. Yeah, let's hope. So be sure to like, follow, share, post, DM. Just reach out how and when you can. You can ask us questions that we can answer on the show. You can let us know what you like or what you hate. You can give us topic ideas for episodes so we don't have to spend our time talking about random stuff like this. So however you can, folks, get in touch. Thank you in advance. Now, back to our show about nothing. What's next on our list of topics?
Well, the big thing... The biggest other thing going on outside of work is that for me, my mom is selling her house, the house that I was not born in, but I was brought to after I was born. And I don't know. It's kind of weird.
There are emotions there. I
Definitely.
Get it.
So it's an interesting house. It's located on the back of a state park. And actually it's actually behind a protected area in between us, the back of that house, and the nearest other road. It's about 10 miles. It feels like it's probably about 5 miles, but it's super protected land. It's a wetland. It's all this other stuff. And so as a kid, we just go run in this area that felt as big as the entire universe. And it's so interesting because I, walked down the hill in her backyard the other day, just kind of take some pictures and look around, and it's completely unrecognizable, of course. Back when we were young, there was buckthorn, but it wasn't entirely buckthorn. There wasn't such a thing as garlic mustard, right? The majority of everything down there now is all invasive plants. And as I was walking back up the hill, just totally unable to find anything that we'd ever built, no forts, no walls. We used to dam up the creek, all that's completely gone. Mm-hmm. It was just it was a sad moment. I was walking up the hill because my dad put metal poles with a rope to kind of help us, because we used to go sledding down the hill, and to get back up the hill, you had to basically pull yourself up. It was just like, wow, how many worlds, how many kingdoms that I invented with friends as a kid are just gone now. How many different imaginings are just completely lost to time. And I don't know, that was sad.
Yeah, when we moved out of the house that I was brought home to use your words, I did not go quietly, even though I was 10 or 11 and honestly had no choice. And we literally moved 2 blocks away, so I wasn't switching schools. I wasn't losing any of my friends. They were just developing a new extension to the subdivision, and my parents took the opportunity to build a home instead of buy. That was the only reason we did it. And but that wasn't my home. That wasn't my house.
Right.
And I was going to make it known that we're going to live here, but it's not going to be my house. I get it, dude.
I guess one of my questions was for you guys. Tristan, I know that, well, both of you have moved when you were younger. But I don't know. I think there's something to be said, and obviously this isn't different if you live in a different home, right? If you move when you're young at a certain amount of after a certain point, that's still just your house. But it felt like losing that house, or that house getting sold, feels like losing a universal central point, right? Because no matter what happened in the rest of your life, no matter where you went or where you were in the world at that moment, you always knew that there was a place that you could go to and have a completely peaceful, solid night's sleep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think for me, and I don't know if this is just, too much time thinking the deep thoughts or whatever, or just the time it happened. Like, I mean, I moved before I could remember. The house I was brought home to was not the one I spent the most time over in Oconomowoc for a long time. Actually, technically, I think now we're getting pretty close to the midway point. About half of the time I've been in Wisconsin has been in my current home, as the home base, other than apartments and stuff in Milwaukee, or the one in Oconomowoc. And I think I moved at a good time, where like I was young enough to be like, I was young enough to not be transplanted in the time that you need that kind of stuff. Like,
right,
really tumultuous times in high school, early college, even like a major, mess up as like an early adult. It's like you could go crash at your parents and like, everything would be okay. I moved in the middle of high school where I hadn't really experienced that yet. So, a lot of that came in this current house. However, just strict amount of time, like, I'm kind of split between the two. So I don't know that, if things were to change again in the next 4 or 5 years, that I'd have any more of an attachment to this place, even though that's when all that stuff happened, than my first, quote unquote, first place that I remember. So I think in my situation, I've had a lot more. And I think with my mom working in 3 different states and that kind of thing, like, I've had a lot of places that were, quote unquote, home. And it sounds cliche, but to me, I feel like home is more the people.
Yeah.
And that's because of my experiences. Like, I mean, if your people were always in the same place, then it makes sense that you would associate those two, and the place would be important. For me, having, basically time equally split between 2 homes, and, my mom being off somewhere else, and at those 2 places, like, I'm kind of dislocated as to what location is physically my home, but I know that it matters where the people are. And that's, it sounds cliche and terrible, but I think in my situation, that's kind of how I feel. However, when you were talking about, all the stuff that had been, the kingdoms in your imagination and all that stuff, that was all I could think of was, not necessarily my backyard, Nick. I mean, there wasn't much to talk about there, but we had we had a nice swing set, but we had that whole big park.
Yep.
That we'd run around in for literal days, other than to come home and sleep. And right. That kind of thing. Like, I totally understand what you're coming from. Like, there are, things we set up, boards we nailed to trees that we probably weren't allowed to, that kind of thing, that I'm sure are gone now.
Yeah.
And decks we accidentally set on fire.
Yeah. But yeah, so I get that kind of thing, and what I find myself, whether or not this is, what we end up doing, once you get to a certain age and people start asking you about, like, are you going to have kids, blah, 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 like, you start thinking about how good your childhood home was to raise kids in, because that's where you were raised.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like almost in retrospect where it's like coming back around, where I have a lot more nostalgia for it. When we moved, my sister, she had spent her whole life there. That was the house she had been brought home to and was the only thing she knew out of her proportionately much shorter life. And she was way more upset moving than I was. But now, like, I may even have more nostalgia for that house than her, kind of in a big circle. So, long story short, many minutes to say I'm just a mess, and I understand what you're saying, but I don't even know how I feel. How about that?
That's fair. Well, I'm interested in the way you kind of described the people versus the home, simply because I mean, I agree, but but on the other hand, I guess it is sort of a different experience because my parents are divorced, and my brothers, my mom was also divorced from the dad of my brothers. So my brothers are way older, 13 and 15 years. So what that means is that house essentially was that central point, that foundational pillar for basically 2 generations. I mean, it's not like a full generation span, but I don't know. So it's really different because I saw my brothers always come back to that house, and that's where every major family holiday we ever had was. And then even after my parents got divorced, we still always had everything at that house. It was still always the gathering point, regardless of any other thing. So I don't know. It's a different scenario.
Yeah, that's probably true. We had, my family, not the most social people. So, we had our family, but we're a smaller family, and my sister and I aren't as spread out. So, we didn't have, that experience. And whenever the extended family got together, it was almost never at our house. We didn't want those people here.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting. Man, but let me tell you, does a shaking a house of, my mom lived there 43 years or something like that.
Wow.
And yeah, she's had it a long time. The amount of crap that you can accumulate in a house over that amount of time. Oh my God. So it's, the weird thing is that it's stuff that I didn't know that she had kept. So one of the things that she found or pulled out, and I kept trying to get rid of, and she kept taking it back in the house until I put it in my car, was my old college laptop. Like when I went to college, got into college, she's like, okay, you need a good laptop. Went and got a MacBook, and it was back, Tristan, when the cases were white. You probably remember this exact computer. I had that exact computer until it got stolen. Then I got a black one. Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah. Oh, I love the black one. Black one was super cool.
Yeah.
But on this laptop, I had, as was the style at the time, decorated it with stickers, which I still do. And it was so funny seeing that. And I haven't seen this laptop in, I don't even know how long. This is three or so laptops old at this point. And I thought that I had thrown it out because the drive died and the battery was bulging. So I was like, oh shit, I better toss this. I don't know where it came from. But I remember everything on there, every sticker on there has a very specific memory. And I remember every single one of them. I remember where I got them. There's a couple on there that are totally random. I had like a really good run of pulling stickers off things you aren't supposed to be able to pull stickers off of. and I would just put them on there. So one is like a flammability requirement sticker from the bottom of my old office chair. So I just was picking at it one night and it came off in one amazing solid piece. And I was like, oh shit. And I did it with like a sticker on a popsicle wrapper and like an apple and a friggin' packet of cheese. Like it's just weird, random shit. But I actually really appreciated that I was able to see that before it finally gets thrown away the way it should have been thrown away a decade ago.
Yeah, I was never on the sticker trend myself.
Which is weird.
I don't know, I kept them clean. I still do. I don't have stickers on any of my technology.
I view that as weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm, maybe just because I don't view it as a place to display stuff anymore. Like, yeah, I don't take my laptop out in public for the most part anymore. Like, and not just because of the pandemic. Like, I have my smartphone, so it's like I'm not sitting somewhere, using my laptop as a billboard. There's no place to make a statement. And I remember all this stuff. I don't need to put a sticker on it. And like, that's it's a little bit different, kind of weird. I put in a little corollary to this topic, like compare it to like car stickers, though. Like, that's a thing everybody sees, everybody for better or worse judges you on. Like, that I'll put stickers on, but I just never got into the laptop doing stickers.
Well, wait, so, Nick, are you team stickers or no stickers?
I'm team stickers on everything, dude. I put stickers on. I have stickers on my fridge.
He's a race driver.
That's a really good point. Of course,
he's really hoping that if he puts enough stickers on stuff, it'll turn into sponsorships.
That's how that works.
I'm putting if there's a sticker out there that I put on for free,
they will notice you. Senpai will notice
and be like, "Hey, we should pay him to do what he's doing for free."
That's right. Damn it!
Like this podcast, they should pay us to do what we're doing for free. Right. No, I've not on the work laptop, but on the personal laptop, you can't really see the back at all. It's all stickered up.
As an official IT department representative, I say thank you. Stop that crap. Don't put stickers on your work laptop. We just have to take them off later. Stop it.
And I had you in my mind when I was going to put a sticker on and then stopped.
A little angel on his shoulder pops up and it looks like me.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm definitely team sticker.
Yeah, you gotta be.
I've got stickers on the Focus, which I don't think either of you guys have seen in person yet, which is crazy.
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah, you did.
We went to Road America.
That's right, you did. But yeah, stickers on there. I had stickers on my truck. Put stickers on coolers. I'm all about stickers.
Important, definitely.
I am the captain of Team Sticker.
I like patches, though.
You like patches?
I got so many. I have to put them on a jacket I bought specifically for that purpose.
You have a patch jacket.
Yes, it needs to have the patches put on it, but I did purchase a jacket specifically for that purpose.
You nerd! What kind of jacket?
It's just like a green canvas jacket, trying to be
like a bomber jacket.
Not really. No, probably the closest thing would be like a military field jacket, but that doesn't really encompass it really. But no, I've got park stickers and park patches, and for state and national parks and attractions I've gone to, and foundations I've donated to, and weird stuff like that I've got to get all on there. And I've got a bunch of nerdy ones, various fandoms and IPs represented.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do I think this is cool or not? I don't know.
The patches?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I Google search patches on a coat because coat patch does not. It's not what you want. It's not what you think it should be. But I mean, a lot of these are denim.
Yeah, I specifically didn't go with denim.
You might look a little silly in a denim coat. You also wear a lot of jeans.
Not anymore. I found the best pants ever. So
best pants. I don't know. How do you feel about patches, Nick?
I'm not really about it. I don't like it. I'm not going to actively call out and make fun of people who do, but it's just not my thing.
Which is fine. Like I said, I'm not making fun of stickers either. I just don't do it.
Yeah.
So
Tristan feels about stickers the same way I feel about patches.
There you go. See?
Speaking of things that need to be fixed, the new Genesis G70 has been finally revealed. I joke when I say that because actually, you know what? I like this, and I like it a lot.
No, I don't.
I like it.
I knew it was coming. They had to, with the SUV and with the G80 all taking the same front grille shape. You knew it was coming, so it's not a surprise. It was just like, I saw the picture and I was just like, crap, it happened.
I don't know what year. Is it the 21? Is it a 20?
22, I think, is going to be the new one.
22?
Yeah.
I think that it could be much worse than it turned out, and I am not mad at this.
I'm just like a parent. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
The old look was quite good. I think that's what the issue is here. The old look was awesome, and there are some things about this that look. They kind of went backwards in terms of quote unquote luxury appeal, right? Because the last G70 looks luxurious. Mm-hmm. And this has like red reflectors around the tailpipes, and I'm just kind of like, I
think I guess it's not my biggest issue. I don't like the look of it just standing alone, but I understand having like a design language where okay, you can tell the brand, but people may not be, in a couple of years, people may not be even able to tell apart the G80 versus the G70.
Well, I still can't with the 80 and the 90. I never could.
That's what I mean. Like, until they actually read the emblem, like the badge on the trunk. Like, there is zero differentiation. I mean, unless you know, okay, the G70 is a little bit smaller. Like, can you tell, like, oh, this one looks like a smaller car? You know, it just, I don't know that. It's too much on the front. The grill is too much.
A problem that is becoming a COVID-esque pandemic.
Oh my God!
I like a big grill.
Well, me too, but
some people can pull it off
right
though.
Now?
Yeah, but there's a difference between appropriate and aggressive and everything versus driving a whale shark.
Like, there's people who can pull it off. Like Lexus pulled it off.
After years of attempts,
they did pull it off. They did pull it off, and it looks really good. So maybe, I don't know, after years of attempts, Genesis will do the same thing, but it's like, damn.
I don't know. I think you're overreacting. I think once you see it in the sheet metal, as they probably don't say in the industry, but I say.
But they should say.
They should. If they don't say it, they definitely should say it. I don't know. I think it's going to grow on you.
And maybe
something that's doing the opposite is actually the new Sonata.
Totally agree. It looks ridiculous on the street.
Yep. I was hyped when I saw it, and then the more I see it driving around, I'm like, nope.
It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It looks droopy. Looks like somebody left it out in the sun too long.
Is that not drippy?
Well, if you leave it out long enough, it then becomes drippy. But first, it becomes droopy.
My droopy's drippy.
like both ends. Like, like past both set of wheels. It looks like it just melted a little bit.
Yeah, it's not great. And that's kind of a bummer because I am so unbelievably hyped for the K9. No, not the K9. The K5. The smaller.
So hyped, I forgot the name.
Well, I was thinking Sonata and then thinking car size, but no, the K5. That I would like to have the Sonata as a fallback option, just because sometimes Kia they get a little in their heads about the shit that they need to put in their cars, and the interiors end up looking at the same time Spartan and way too busy. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do actually.
They end up looking like a BlackBerry, and I just
utilitarian, or like almost in a bad way, not the cool way. Like an airplane cockpit, like super utilitarian, but way too much.
Definitely. I don't know that that'll happen, but I would like the Sonata to be a possible fallback option, but I just don't think it's going to. I'm excited for that engine, I guess is really what that comes down to.
Yes. Let's just package it a different way.
Yeah, please. I have a grievance that I need to air. It's not against anyone on this podcast, but it is something that I need to just talk about because I feel like I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. So the other day, we got Subway sandwiches for lunch after we're moving crap in the house.
Yeah.
And my wife went to get them, and I was like, "Oh, just get something for me. You know what I like." And she came back. And she came back with, I just don't know. I don't have the words to talk about it correctly. She came back with a meatball sub, which I love. I love meatball subs.
Great, cool.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
But it had banana peppers, pickles, and chipotle sauce on it.
Whoa.
I mean, you could almost go as far as, I think banana peppers are an easy step.
Yep.
Pickles are a stretch. And then, like, just blindsided, earhole tackled by chipotle sauce. What?
And
I could do banana peppers.
That one I feel like that could be an add-on in a city where they respect their food. But I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I felt a little insulted.
They don't just put that on though. Like that had to be requested.
Yeah, I know. Like I have.
That sounds like the grievance is more with your wife than.
Oh,
with
it definitely
Subway.
is. Yeah,
Okay.
no, that is absolutely true.
Okay.
But I just don't. I'm completely mystified as to how that decision was arrived at. Like, what did I do essentially to deserve this?
I mean, were you guys in a fight earlier that day? Was she just getting back at you by making you a random shit sandwich?
No, and what I said to Tristan when I texted him about it, because I literally could not believe it was happening. So I don't think my tastes are that esoteric. Like I don't think the things I like are that much of a mystery or that bizarre. But maybe I'm wrong.
Folks listening, let us know. Why would someone go out of their way to make such a sandwich?
What could he have done to elicit?
What could he have done?
Like, is it my fault? Did I
That's what we're trying
make
to
this happen?
That's what we're trying to figure out. We haven't heard much about the rest of your day leading up to it. So you said you're moving stuff around the house. Did you drop anything on her foot and not apologize?
No, I don't think so. I don't know, man. It's a mystery. I'm just going to stew over it some more.
That'll help.
Yeah.
That is a mystery.
I'm just thinking about sandwiches. Well,
I think the Chipotle on a meatball subs already come with marinara, so extra
yes.
like, with Chipotle sauce on it, like that's just too much sauce.
It was, I don't know.
Forget the flavor, that's just too much sauce. The sauce to other topping ratio is skewed.
I completely agree.
Way up.
But she did not, in the end, put lettuce on it, and thank God for that, because...
Yeah, you don't do that.
I don't know. My dad did that once, and I gave him a really weird look, and then he said I liked the crunch, and then I gave him another really weird look, and I didn't pursue the conversation further, because I didn't know how to respond to that. I like this crunch on my meatball sub.
Well, and the thing is, as I've posited before, when you put shredded lettuce on hot food, you don't get a crunch. That's the problem with shredded lettuce. I'm not
doing the shredded lettuce thing again. It is delightful.
Not on tacos.
It is great on tacos.
It is
not on Taco Bell tacos.
And a crucial ingredient.
Wrong.
Okay.
However, we were talking about sauce, and it's weird how my brain works with words and contexts, because with you two guys repeatedly saying the word sauce, my mouth began to water, and I was trying to figure out why.
Were you thinking about some barbecue?
No, the buffalo sauce we had in New York.
Oh, now I'm doing it too.
Yeah, damn you, Dudley.
Like, why is this happening?
That shit was so good. We're just sitting here reminiscing about food we ate previously. Tristan, you idiot! You put TikTok on this list.
Why?
I feel like we've reached the point where we have to address it.
As a culture,
certainly as a podcast, because it's getting like I shared something the other day on Instagram that was sent to me from TikTok, which then like I started looking at other things on TikTok and was like, okay, I entirely get how this would like lure people in, because as someone who has the attention span of an adolescent gnat, it's appealing because you just scroll and there's another little whatever 30-second video and you keep going. But it's made it into. I just saw today an advertisement for something that wasn't TikTok using TikTok videos.
Oh, gotcha.
Like it's just become a feature of the landscape. The people who don't even use TikTok would more or less recognize what that is, even if they don't get the in-joke of whatever challenge or whatever is going on in these videos. Like it at least hits with enough people that it's made it into advertising campaigns for not TikTok.
What product was that? So I can never buy it.
I don't know. I saw the end. I was like, because I heard music.
Usually where they say the name of the product.
Well, but then I saw it was TikTok and I tuned out. So
Then it could have been an ad for TikTok.
Well, no, because it was some inspirational message, which it felt like some nonprofit or something.
Needy
But
kids.
yeah. What?
Was it the ads for needy kids, like support the needy kids, donate?
No.
Support the Needy Kids Challenge.
It's like if there's something that we've all learned from this, it's like you can be whatever you want to be, and they were doing one of those like the transition TikTok videos. Where it's like people start as one thing and then they like drop a shoe on their foot or whatever, and they become something else. But yeah, it was just like it's a very weird thing to me. They're like not movies, not TV shows, but like I'm asking you guys because I don't remember. Was there a time when like not in a movie or a TV show, but like in commercials for other things, was like actual like Facebook or Twitter branded screenshots? Like because these videos had the TikTok watermark on them.
See,
so
now
it's like,
the watermark is where it gets complicated because there are commercials that have used assorted memes.
Right,
or
exactly.
even Vine videos.
That's true. And did they have the watermark from Vine?
No, that's the difference. They did not have the watermarks.
So, I don't know. I've used the TikTok. I haven't posted anything, but I have scrolled through to try to figure out what this is all about.
It's just Vine.
Yeah, which I liked Vine. So
I did too, but the problem with TikTok is that we've well aged out.
Maybe I would go as far as to say we fall in some middle road because it's like it's all 13-year-olds or 40-year-olds. But there's a weird app.
You can't be old and on that app. I think it's gross.
But there are.
I think it's gross. Every single person. I think every single one of them is gross. It's no different to me than having an account on I don't know what Club Penguin, which is closed. I'm trying to think of Neopets. You know what I mean? Like if you saw some guy playing Neopets at our age, you'd be like, all right, I think I know what's up with you, and you're gross.
It's interesting though. It's interesting because when you look at like, because you have to basically sign up to even do anything. And when you look at what I get when I scroll through and what Jessica gets when she scrolls through, because I know that at least Claire and Jessica use it. So Nick, you may not have been exposed to it, but someone in your house is using TikTok.
No, she shows me plenty of TikTok videos.
And and I'll show her something funny that I found. And she's like, "Where are you getting this stuff? What is your TikTok?" Like,
I'm your TikTok.
It's very, it's very, very different. And like I know that's the stuff that makes it gross is out there, but like primarily what she gets is like all cooking videos. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, yeah, but she's trained that algorithm.
Right, and I have trained it for mostly, as with everything I do, funny animal videos. Mm-hmm. So I feel like you can train the algorithm and not have it be gross unless you want it to be gross. Unlike what I'm saying is that's where like your comparison falls down. It's like there is only one thing to go and talk to people on Neopets or Club Penguin for. You can at least option TikTok, but it's weird that it made it into like major political action and commercials, and it's just it's odd at how pervasive it became beyond just people using it and long-standing media like movies and TV shows.
You know why that is. It's not that all publicity is good publicity, but what it is that we are in an era where people are more susceptible to memes than they have ever been, simply because normal life as it's been known and developed through the modern era, normal life has essentially come to a stop. So when what's his name is up there saying TikTok must be purchased by an American company, it's like, first of all, no. Second of all, why are you talking about this? Who's paying you to talk about TikTok? Is it TikTok?
It could be.
Because I mean, that maybe I'm ridiculously paranoid, but that's essentially the level that I feel we're at as a country, right? Almost nothing is talked about without money changing hands. And it's absurdist in its transparency, right? When you realize how much of what you consume in media, especially fictional media, whether it's video games or TV shows or movies, when you realize how much of what's in those media pieces is product placement, this sounds like borderline conspiracy theorist, but it's absurd, and not in any way that, they're trying to brainwash us. It's just the amount of money that's changing hands in those franchises, whether it's something big or something small, an indie film or the Avengers. So much money changed hands for all of it that it's just, it makes everything a Poe. Do you guys know about Poe's law? Tristan, I know you do.
No, you're gonna have to get me up to speed.
So this it's originally intended for forums, right? Nathan Poe was the guy's name. His original statement was, "Without a winking smiley or other blatant display of humor, it is utterly impossible to parody a creationist in such a way that someone won't mistake it for the genuine article." Basically, it's saying that without a clear indicator of intent, there's no way to tell the difference between satire and a genuine statement on the internet.
Okay.
I just see that everywhere now. Everything is that because there's so much quote unquote viral marketing. And, TikTok actually branding their stuff is kind of their running counter to Poe's law, but it's just, I don't know. It makes everything hard to take seriously simply because so little of what you see is genuine.
That I will agree with, and it's just an observation on my part of how like I think we saw Twitter never really hit it quite as much, but like Facebook became if herd immunity was actually based on Facebook usage, we'd be there, because it's like you've reached a critical point where even people who don't have Facebook know someone close enough to them that does, that they can receive input from it. Right. So we've seen stuff become nearly ubiquitous. However, it hasn't as itself. Now, it might as an idea. It's like, oh, I was on Friend Space is what the the sitcom will say or whatever. Yeah. Like the idea exists, but like the company themselves was not inserting itself into media and commercials and stuff unless it was for themselves.
Right.
So that was weird to me, and I something that it bothered me all day today. Why? But yeah, so we can move on though.
Well, no, I think there are parts of this that are quite interesting, but I probably sound like a crazy person. Big, very small, somewhat insignificant news. Today, today was the first day of the only sport that matters in the whole world.
Says the car podcast.
The only sport that matters. Professional American football.
It's back.
It's back.
The Chargers lucked into a win today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For once, luck was on their side instead of the other way around.
Well, I mean, what we should do is take a quick squiz around and talk about the teams that we root for.
So, Nick, you obviously gave yours away.
Yeah, sorry.
Actually, we have talked about that. Nick's a Chargers fan.
Chargers fan, and why?
You have to ask my parents. I don't necessarily remember. It's been that long, but
I remember your mom telling the story that it was because you liked the logo.
That's the general consensus. When
Accepted
I was really
wisdom.
little, it was just one of those random games that must have come on after the Packer game or whatever, like the afternoon game, and the Chargers were playing, and I just liked the lightning bolt logo. And I started rooting for him, and here I am 30 years later, and I haven't stopped. So
no one has stopped me.
So
no one has taken him aside and said, Nick, it's time to stop.
Yeah. I mean, they went to the one and only Super Bowl they went to. I think I was 6 or 7. They played the 49ers, got smoked by the 49ers. And I was already all in. I had my face paint on and my Junior Seau jersey. And I was like the only person in Wisconsin who was like outside of the people who bet, who was really invested in the 49er Charger Super Bowl.
What year was that?
Oh, I want to say 94? I remember my quarterback was Stan Humphries.
Oh, God.
Natron Means at running back. Junior Seau leading the defense. Leslie O'Neal rushing off the edge. Yeah, man.
That was 95.
95. I was off by a year.
It was 95. It was the Steve Young Super Bowl.
Yeah, Steve Young and Jerry Rice happened.
I mean, well, yeah. So Tristan, your team.
I am a Chicago Bears supporter. I don't know. As I was texting with you about earlier, Andrew, I just can't, like, fan seems too much.
Well, I think one thing should be made clear. Being a diehard fan is a sucker's game. Fair
True.
weather or nothing. Nick thinks differently,
which is an interesting
That's
which is an interesting statement, actually, because I have a question from my mom, because being Chicago Bears football supporters, we said, she asked me, so who are you going to pick this year for your auxiliary actually good team? So we always
hedging your bet.
Right, so we always have the Bears, and then we always pick a good team to actually root for, because then we might get any, like, feeling of fulfillment when they win.
You might feel something.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned the fair weather or nothing, because it's really both. I'm a poor abused Bears fan because I was raised that way by my mom, and my grandpa, to be fair. And then it's the same time, my mom, being a realist, knows that she might actually have to deal with, a suicide if she didn't give me something else to understand that joy can exist in the world. So, But yeah, for me, it was actually a startling return to normalcy today because the Bears are still the Bears, and actually the Lions are still the Lions. I think we led that game for a total of like 1 minute and 25 seconds.
Lovely.
But the only minute and 25 seconds that count.
Exactly.
You can't fight the river, and you can't outfail the Lions.
The Bears try and the Chargers try, right, Nick?
Oh, the Chargers try mostly successfully. Like I've seen them fumble taking a knee when they were trying to take a knee to run out the clock. I mean, they have found amazingly creative ways to lose football games. But
the phrase is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
It was funny. Somebody did post a funny, it wasn't really a meme. It was just it's one game. It's a specious comparison, but everybody always compares the Bears quarterback to like Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes and those guys. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we know this is silly, but just let us have this one for this 1 week. Yeah. And Mitch won. He was 20 for 36 for 242 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had more yards than Pat Mahomes and more touchdowns than Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson lost. So
to Pat Mahomes.
Right, yeah. So it's like it's like basically just let us have this one. That's the kind of stuff you have to look for, which is a statement. So
I root for actually the Bills, who were my first team as a young child, for my grandpa who lived in Lancaster outside of Buffalo. But I also was a Packers fan for a great many years until they hired Matt LaFleur. At that point, I said, fuck this, call me when they fire him. And I'm just kind of waiting to see where Aaron Rodgers goes next year to find out what my NFC team will be.
So actually, we've had all three of us had wins today.
Yes, that is true.
We all kicked off the season right.
Yeah. Yep. Somehow.
Oh, man. I thought the Chargers were going to give it away again. And
I thought they were done for. I was watching that game.
Oh, my God.
In fairness, Joe Burrow looked fantastic.
Yes, he did, as advertised.
And he did everything that he possibly could have.
Yeah, and then their kicker, oh, my God, what was a 34-yarder or something like that? He just shanked. It wasn't even...
He blew his leg out, though. I think he is going to be done for the season. That looked like he wasn't nasty.
Yeah,
he was very painful.
Yeah, well, gave us the win, so...
That's what it takes. That's what it takes to get the Chargers to win. It takes an A.J. Green push-off and the kicker completely losing his leg.
Yep, the leg fell off when he tried to kick the game-winning field goal.
Simpson style, but instead of the severed leg kicking the ball through the uprights, it just continued off to the right.
Yeah, but hey, man, as a Charger fan, beggars cannot be choosers, so we'll take it.
Entirely understood and sympathized.
Why do we still watch football?
I really don't know.
I mean, why not?
That is a very compelling argument.
That's all I got.
I mean, what else? That's it. But it's one of those things that I used to beat myself up about annually, basically, just because. I mean, God, the owners are all unbearable, and Roger Goodell is a sock puppet, and God, the way they handle everything is unbearable, and of course, none of that helps when you absolutely have zero faith in the Green Bay Packers because they're wasting yet another year of Aaron Rodgers' prime by doing some dumb thing, hiring some guy who met a good coach one time, and they're like, "Oh, he must be great," and then failing their way to whatever. I'm
in a division with the Bears, the Lions, and the Vikings. Congrats.
I'm very bitter about the amount of years of Aaron Rodgers that the Packers have completely wasted by drafting all of the wrong people at all of the wrong time.
Yeah. The guy that they traded up to draft 10th overall didn't even suit up today.
The guy that they traded up to draft, depending on, I was listening to the PFF podcast. They had a 7th round grade on him.
Yeah. Traded up to draft him 10th.
Yikes.
We're no strangers to trading up for.
Well, no, they drafted him 20. They drafted him, I want to say 20th or 22nd, something like that.
Oh, I thought they traded up higher than that.
It wasn't that high, but
the draft seems so long ago.
But it was right ahead of the Vikings, where they picked a really good looking wide receiver that they really could have used. But then they turned around and handed him a fully guaranteed rookie contract. And I said, "Oh shit, Aaron Rodgers is out of here."
Yep.
Whatever.
I'd like to talk about one that I didn't even put on the list, but I'm very interested into exactly what you mean by this.
What?
Art class.
Art class. Okay. Well, this was also inspired by some of the finds coming out of my mom's house. So in the basement, I discovered or rediscovered a great many of my grade school art projects. And I don't know, I mean, obviously I assume everyone's grade school had very different art classes. Mine, we did pottery stuff almost constantly. I think we maybe did 1 or 2 drawing projects. I think the kiln was new. So
I did a shockingly little amount of ceramics.
Oh, we did all the time.
I didn't do any ceramics.
But then we did things like make a Pinewood Derby car, which was really cool.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. Well, see, so that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, your experience in art class. But also, primarily, I just wanted to say, my art teacher was a genuine dick, because I'm looking at the projects. One of them was like this little wall sconce kind of thing, right? Basically, just took a piece of clay and kind of rolled it over. I think it's supposed to probably look like a tulip or some shit like that. And we made it with red clay. And I remember when it was time to do the glazing, she had all the glazes out, and I picked one that had like a white base, and then glaze is fundamentally the same as magic. So you brush it on, and then when you baked it, kilned it, fired. Thank you. When you fired it, it would turn into patches of purple and blue. And so I grabbed that and was putting it on. And I remember I just had like this moment where I remembered so clearly that while I was doing that, and when I was in grade school, she came to me and said, if you use that glaze, it's not going to look good and it's not going to work. And I just remember I was like, what? And I just kept going. And it looks interesting. It looks different, right? So it's a red clay base with a thick white pattern and turquoise and purple spots on it. I think it actually looks pretty cool. And I was like, well, that was kind of weird of her to do.
Yeah.
I had very forthright art teachers who, although very nice, were very honest about the fact that art is probably not something I should pursue any further than required.
Maybe that's what she was trying to let me know.
Maybe.
I had a weird, it was an odd encounter with my, it was freshman or sophomore year of high school. I was only going to do the required art. I wasn't going to go any further than that anyway. That's just not me, not my thing. So I was just kind of struggling through it. As long as I don't fail, I'm fine. Just get me through, get me out of it. And during one of the classes, it was like a work session on whatever project we were going, and then she was calling each person up to the desk to review a mid-semester grade review. And she calls me up to the desk and no bullshit goes, so right now you're sitting at a C, but don't worry, you'll get an A. And I'm like, what? I'm sorry. She's like, don't worry, you'll get an A. Just don't worry. I said, okay. I didn't change anything I did I didn't change my study habits. I didn't work any harder. I got an A.
Also, you can't study in art. Let's be real.
Well, I'm just saying, nothing else changed from that moment, and I got an A.
That's hilarious.
I have no idea, what that was about, but whatever.
Sorry.
So weird.
Yeah, and at the same time, I do think there's a certain, I don't know, something that I miss about being able to just go and be bad at something.
Yeah.
And no one cared, and your parents put it up on the wall, and so what if that's not what you're going to do in life? A lot of stuff we do, it's if I'm not great at it right away, or even if I'm not showing progress, why bother doing that thing? So there's something to be said for doing something just because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we don't get a chance to do that as adults. So, as much as I sucked at art class, man, I loved getting clay all over my hands and drawing stuff that only I could recognize. And that was fun. And I'm thinking about that, or having this discussion. I'm well, I have an iPad. It doesn't literally cost me nothing to use the no ink and paper just to start drawing stuff for fun.
Yeah.
Who cares if, much like when my mom drew a cow, my sister's response was, "Oh, look, a dog." Who cares if that's what happens? I don't even have to show it to anybody. I can just mess around. I should maybe try that. I don't know.
You should. I will inspire you to do that. See, I have an outlet like that. I'm very bad at guitar, but I still play it anyway.
Likewise.
And it is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. It's great.
Because sometimes the effects pedals make it sound really cool.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh shit.
The noise.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, that sounds amazing. And then
try to play.
How did I do that?
You're like, no, that's that sounds like a real person's playing it. And then, I mean, that's it. And then that moment's over. But for that moment, it's great.
Oh, totally.
Oh yeah, the other art project I found that made me think about this was all right. So one you can kind of excuse, right? But the second art project I found that made it a trend is and I don't remember why this was a project. Maybe the project was to make whatever you wanted, but for some reason I made a clay house, and it's maybe 8 inches by 8 inches. It's a somewhat sizable piece of clay. It's got a door, front windows, side windows, all that stuff. Now remember, before I put the roof on, I started crafting little things, and there are tons of openings in the house. I started crafting little things in the house. There's a TV in there and a chair. And I remember the art teacher, I guess, quote unquote, caught me doing that and said that I had to stop because the whole thing would collapse if I didn't stop.
Okay. Weird.
And it obviously didn't. And
I'm beginning to think you had an art teacher who bluffed their way into the job.
That could be. I don't know. The whole thing was very weird for me, because suddenly I was like, did my art teacher hate me?
Kind of sounds like it.
That's lit. That's a flex.
I'm just saying.
Our teachers hate him. All right. What do we got here? 140.
Yep.
Who's got something they want to throw out?
I just have a question for you guys, because I saw this article. I actually posted it on Facebook. Someone came up with a chart that lists a lot of the more popular cars on the road: Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, etc. Ford F-150s.
I know, it's required.
And like how many miles is actually left in your tank when the low fuel light comes on?
Yes.
So, for instance, some of the ranges are pretty crazy. For instance, like a Nissan. Oh wait, where's the one with like the huge range? So, like a Ford Fusion has anywhere from 35 to 80 miles left.
Try harder. Oh my god.
Chrysler 200, 69 to 108.
Ooh, the sex number.
But like
108?
Yes. I
really, my this just brought up a question that I wanted to ask the two of you. How close have you guys pushed it on fuel in the past, if at all? Are you a risk taker with the fuel?
No, I immediately freak out when that light pops on. I start to lose my whole mind. I'm like, oh my god! The action music kicks in. You're like, we're not going to make it 3 miles to the next gas station.
You're like, you got plenty of distance. Yeah. No, the fuel light came on like in Wales, Andrew, from my parents' house.
Yeah.
And we were going to Jessica's family's house in Jackson. And I was like, eh. And then we filled up in Jackson.
Oh god. You're going to get stuck somewhere.
I have actually driven to the point where estimated mileage remaining is not accurate enough for it to actually want to give me a distance.
Oh.
It doesn't even say 0. It just says you should get gas now, basically, in nicer terms, because it's like I can't even predict like 5 miles or something. It's just like, yeah, you should get gas now.
Okay. Well, I have a buddy who listens to this, so he'll remember this. He had an old Honda Civic, VTEC Honda Civic, and I don't remember the situation exactly, but he lived in Milwaukee, and I think we hung out like back-to-back nights or whatever, something like that. And I remember he came to get me and mentioned that his fuel light was on. We then drove back to Milwaukee, did some stuff, hung out that night. He drove me back out here the next day. Fuel light was still on. And then came and got me that night. He worked in Oconomowoc, lived in Milwaukee. Came and got me that night, and the fuel light was still on. It might have been 40 miles.
Jesus.
I don't understand. Days passed. Does that not weigh heavy on your soul?
Not for some people.
I don't get it. Like, how's that possible?
Yeah, I am very conservative with it. Like, I don't even let the light come on. If it gets under a quarter, I'm looking for a gas station.
Oh yeah, same.
Probably the least gas I've ever had in a car when I turned it off and got out of it, however, was when I was out in California and I had a company rented car, and they always do like the buy the tank of fuel so you can return it empty if you want to. And I returned it empty. I thought it was like it might have been starting to misfire. Like I was, quite actually probably running on fumes. I really hope they got it to their like rental car lot gas pump.
I I had it happen on the work truck when I was in field sales, where I think I had come back home for a long weekend, and I had the red work truck in my parents' driveway, and I think I was just like, I had parked somebody in, so I was going to move it out of the driveway onto the street, and it wouldn't start. I'm like, well, this is weird. And this wasn't like it was an issue where like the gauge was like off or broken and the light didn't come on, but like it wouldn't start. So I went in the house. I'm like, Dad, the truck isn't starting. I don't get what's going on. And he goes out and we're looking around. He's like, it can't be out of gas, can it?
I mean, I guess it can.
And he's like, because we were looking
Anything
around
possible.
like he's like, okay, like it's turning over, it's got a spark, there's this and that, and he's like, it can't be out of gas, and he lays underneath it where the gas tank is and goes dong, dong. It was like completely hollow. He's like, this thing is bone dry, how did you even get it here?
Just what's in the lines.
It's literally what was left, and I never had a warning. Like the gauge was off.
Huh. Didn't know that could happen.
Neither did I until that night.
Sending unit was probably busted. But yeah,
Something.
that's hilarious.
It was like the most hollow sound ever. Like
That's my
my heart. As soon as I heard him knock the first time, my heart just sank. I'm like, oh my god! I ran out of gas and didn't even know.
Oh, that is, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just weird with gas then. Maybe I should just like live a little more on the edge. But one of the things that Meg does that really freaks me out is she'll go to the gas station with her car, on empty and not fill the tank.
What?
She'll go to the gas station with her car on empty and not fill the tank.
Like, does she just throw
some gas in, or just like none?
Or does she go in and like get a drink and then not fill up?
No, she will put.
I think I have done that.
She will put some gas in.
That's okay. That's got to be a remnant of like college student no money days.
That's what I think. Or that is also something I remember my parents doing back in the day, especially after Wisconsin when we got ethanol gas, because my parents, unbelievably, would drive out to frickin' Watertown to get
to Jefferson County.
Yeah, get into Jefferson County to get non-ethanol gas for the longest time. And so if for any reason, it's not close to my grandma's house in Dousman, but it's closer. So they would drive out there and, put $20 in whatever when we were out at her house, even though that was probably, I don't know, 15 miles additional, like out of the way, completely in the opposite direction. They did that, but I don't know. That's some old fashioned stuff, I think.
I've never understood that. Like I'm just never going to, so I'm not going to try. But like when people come up and they're like, I'm just going to put $10 in, like, just fill it up. You're here.
I've done that, like when I cut it too close, even for me, and I know that I'm like going past Costco or something. Where like it's like I can get this gas for 20 cents a gallon cheaper on my way to work.
Yeah.
I'll throw in like $2 of gas so I can get there.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And like that I'll do, but not and then later in the week go to that same gas station and put more gas in.
That just seems weird to me.
Very. Well, what else we got, guys? What are we at here? Almost an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
We can save some for next time.
We've talked enough about everything and nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it gives everybody a little perspective about who we actually are. Like we fielded some user questions, but we've never talked about stuff that can give you kind of sideways insight on us.
Stuff is important.
That's fair. So hopefully you learned a little bit more about us, folks. Thanks for sticking with us today. We appreciate you listening, but we don't want you to just listen. We want to interact with you. We already spent a few minutes telling you how to find us online and on social. In addition to all that, if you get the chance, be sure to please leave us a review on your streaming platform, preferably a good one, and or hit that subscribe button for us. It's free. And the only thing that'll happen is that you get notified of any new episodes or new content that we put out. If you're really into what we're doing and would like to support this podcast monetarily, you have two options for that. You can go to patreon.com/checkenginepodcast, or if you go to our homepage at anchor.fm/checkenginepodcast, right below our logo, there is a rectangular button that says support. You can click there to get started. Every cent pledged is put towards making this podcast a better experience for you, the listener, and none of it goes back to us personally. So again, thank you in advance if you choose to do that. Fellas, before we sign off, any special shout outs or thank yous?
I should probably thank my childhood home, huh?
Yeah.
the place of countless memories. And, it's going to a family and people who actually lived in my mom's neighborhood. They owned a different house in our neighborhood for many years, and they kept driving past my mom's house. They knew her, and it's like, oh, if you ever sell your house. And so they actually did end up buying it. They have a couple of kids, and it's one of those things. I'm not like a strongly religious person in any way, but my mom always says, when you're getting rid of things, getting a new car, a new house, leaving a job, just bless it, just bless it and move on. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really what you got to do. There's so much amazing energy in that house. So many great things happen there. So many hilarious stories and amazing nights of just sitting around our dining room table or in the kitchen or, at a holiday. That it's going to be a great house for them. So that's good. Thank you, house.
Absolutely. Tristan.
I would like to thank kind of, a lot of the stuff we discussed made me think of it, and, stuff I did today makes me think of it. And it's, it's almost a cop out, a little cheesy. But I'd like to thank friends. I got a chance to see in person a friend I haven't seen like coming up on 2 years now. We're in near constant digital contact because they happen to work for a different branch of the company in a different part of the country. So I get to talk, quote unquote, talk to him all the time. But it was good to see him in person, and congratulate him on getting engaged. And his fiance is also pregnant, so congratulations. But it's just, this podcast wouldn't happen. I wouldn't have gotten through college. I wouldn't have gotten through, huge portions of, my life when Nick, one or the other of us, was deathly ill.
Yeah.
I think without friends, the world means so little. You really have two things. You have family and you have friends. And I'd like to thank friends.
True.
So that's a good segue, because I'll take the other half of that statement. I would like to thank family. So specifically, my cousin and her husband, Brad, and their family, they came down. They spent the last day and a half here hanging out with us. They live a couple hours away. So, outside of birthdays and holidays, we don't get to see them that much. Obviously digital communication, but in-person hanging out doesn't happen too much. And then this year with everything with COVID, it was really like Skype calls is all we've been doing. They were going to come down to watch one of my races, but obviously with all the rain this weekend, the racing got canceled. So they just came over to hang out, and we really didn't have any plans. It was just spending time catching up. And as exhausting as it was to run around and hang out and play with 9 and 5-year-old boys in a condo that wasn't really meant for children, it was so cool just to get a chance to hang out with them, with the entire family, because they're just good people. They're good people, and I missed them. So, plus it was Ashley's birthday this week. So my cousin Ashley, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So, we went and got her a cake and had a little celebration here. So that was awesome. So thanks to my cousins, and thanks to family. And and as always, thank you listeners for your continued support. We love hearing from you. We love recording this for you. We cannot wait to do this again. Until then, take care.